So it's time to move on to our next presenter, Mr. Tom de Groeve. Mr. Tom is from the European Commission Joint Research Center, and he's going to tell us about free and open data for your risk assessment, new global data set from the European Union's Disaster Risk Management Knowledge Center.
Hello, yes, you can hear me. Good. Good afternoon. I follow after an excellent performance from the people before me, with a key message of we know. And in a way, my message will be quite the same. I have a message from the science side. Science is very present in this conference. It's about knowledge, generating knowledge, the gaps in science, but also what we already know. Can we advance the slides? I'm from the European Commission Joint Research Center, the Science and Knowledge Management Service in Europe, where we do a lot of research and also knowledge management to try to inform policy making about this. So on the one hand, we have an enormous world of science, and you probably have you see how rich this is, and there's a lot of knowledge being generated with many programs doing that. On the other hand, you have a very complex multi-sectoral policy, which we know all here. It's very complex, so many stakeholders. And one role we try to play is the management of this knowledge, is to pass from one to the other side. Very challenging. And we have a knowledge center that tries to play its role in this area, strong at the European level, so a lot on the European side, but also globally, because the Commission is also a global actor, and we are very interested in that. Basically, yes, there are data challenges, and there's a lot of new reports out that say, and we also really work on trying to fill these gaps with all things. But there's also already a lot of data available. And today I will present you some of these databases that we have worked on for a long time that may be useful, that maybe are not always known, and that may be used by many stakeholders. We mainly work in a context in Europe of civil protection, but also climate adaptation, compensation, and investment. So we already work within all these fields, and the data we try to build help in all these contexts. And on the Sendai framework side, it's the same. We work in the humanitarian sector, but also in the development of the urban agenda and the climate adaptation. So the data that we have, and much of our data, all our data is available on, you will see a number of links. So the presentation really is to help you find the data. It's all in our open data catalog of the JRC. For instance, sea level rise and what will happen in the future. This data is available for people to use. This is based in publications, based in it's used in applications that we are building, but the source data is available. We know where sea level is rising and where extreme storms will be a problem. The same for floods. We know where the floods are now, what the risk is now at the global level. So these are global maps of the flood hazard, that the floods now, but also in the future. So if you're interested in floods, this kind of data is available. We know about wildfires, droughts, cyclone, earthquakes. Our center has worked for a long time on building these data sets that are valid on a global level, European level, but also global level increasingly. Working with many partners, many of them are here, that collectively try to have data available on wildfires, droughts, etc. Artificial intelligence is very useful together with Earth observation to do new things. And one of the recent data sets that we developed is this global human settlement layer. Where are the people? The hazards are known, but also now where people are. This is the first time we map consistently over the whole world the built-up population and where the people are, the population. So based on machine learning and combining census data and satellite data, we find out that people are in many more places than we thought. The purple indicators are where the UN report is reporting on the major cities. But we see that there's many more urban centers, in this case in China, that are relatively recent and that were not necessarily mapped in the normal system. So we know now where the people are. Here you see an animation of the growth of this population, the growth of exposure. We are building new risk in certain areas based on satellite observations from the 70s till now. So very useful for the dynamics of urbanization and exposure to risks. Another part is the vulnerability part. We are curating over 50 data sets together with many partners, many EU agencies, on risk, on the vulnerability, the coping capacity. This is updated every 6 months. It's been going for many years, and it is a very, very useful information to understand the social aspect of risk. Copernicus, many of you may know about the Copernicus program, from satellites exploiting as much as possible information on the risk, on the impact of disasters, all freely available for you. Finally, we are trying to collecting all of this in a new risk data hub, which is part of the Knowledge Center, where you can easily access this information in a contextualized way so that it can be used in the various applications for you, including also new challenges like the lost data challenge. Very complicated, very difficult to collect all that data, but within this project we're tackling that. It's not only that, I talked a lot about the data. This is the key thing we're doing. We want to be really the center collecting data because we have a long institutional life. We can do that, and we can collect that at the European and global level. So that will be there. But we're also doing other knowledge management, and this is as important. We're trying to work on the risk assessment side. What is the best practice? Collective processes with many people, trying to involve with the many stakeholders that are involved, and slowly advance to a truly multi-risk assessment in the governance and also at local areas. Today we launch this. Today we launch a new report, open for consultation. It's an initial report that will slowly evolve iteratively to try to condense all this knowledge specifically on risk assessment in this case. So you're all very welcome to contribute to this process and to increase the knowledge. Something we launched in the previous platform in 2017 was a summary of science, not only data, but also the science. Where are scientists? What are still the gaps? What is happening in all the different hazards, but all the different sectors also. That was launched there. And we have a new process going on to which we invite all of you to contribute with your knowledge, with your networks, the Science for DRM 2020, which should be a collection of the collective knowledge out there. This is it. I presented you, I leave you with a fantastic image that represents a bit the availability of data and the challenges of data. So here we see a cyclone, the cyclone Fani that hit India and Bangladesh. It represents, I don't know if I can go back, yes. It represents the enormity and the complexity of what hazards are. It shows you from satellites what we can see, and from this we can derive a lot about the impact and the risk of this. But this data being available must be combined with vulnerability data, must be combined with the coping infrastructure, coping capacity, and then used, of course, in preparedness planning, as India has demonstrated that is absolutely possible. The data is there. If you act on it, you can really, really make a difference. That is the kind of data that we are collecting and we are making available in many ways to the community. Thank you. If there are any questions, there's still a minute or so. So if you... Exactly, yes. All the data is publicly and openly available. At the URLs that I showed on the slides, you could see all the links. The main one is data.grc.ec.europa.eu. Yes, indeed. Yes. Yeah. There's a question there.
1 minute, please.
Hi, is the data exportable? Can you download it?
Yes, exactly. The data can be downloaded. In the links that you saw, you will get access to the data. Much of the data is also used in applications, so you can also reach these applications where the data is contextualized in, and at the booth of the European Commission you can see many of these data sets, so I invite you afterwards to also come there and I can show you live some of the data sets. Contextualized in certain contexts. We saw the various applications on climate, on civil protection, humanitarian, depending on whether it's used for early warning or for risk, this data is used in a different way. But there's good examples on that, and also these applications are, of course, available to the public and to everyone. Yeah.
Any other question, please? No? Okay, thank you very much,
Okay,
Tom.
thank you
so much.
Bye.